Well, a very good evening to you. I'm Sophia Cambridge with this Sunday, June 3rd edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, the Barbados Labour Party is still in celebration mode after its May 24th victory at the polls. Today, thousands of supporters journeyed to Bath Beach in the rural parish of St. John. They were addressed by Representative for St. John, Charles Griffith, who made history by becoming the first Barbados Labour Party candidate to win the seat. He thanked the people of St. John for their support and promised that under BLP leadership, they can expect better representation. Prime Minister Mia Mottley, while thanking supporters, reminded Barbadians that they will have to exercise discipline as the country moves toward restoration. She says social partnership meetings will continue this week so as to ensure that all groups remain engaged. The Barbados Family Planning Association has made a public appeal for assistance in its search for a new home. The association is currently only able to offer limited clinical services after two separate fires destroyed its office on Bay Street. Speaking from a church service at the Sanctuary Empowerment Centre to mark the association's 65th anniversary, the BFPA's president, the Reverend Ruth Phillips, says last year over 75,000 people used their services. That figure represents an increase of 19% over 2016. She says the BFPA is anxious to find a new home so they can continue to offer key services to the public.
We are seeking your prayers and any financial assistance that you can give us to fund that new place. Any assistance at all that you can give the Barbados Family Planning Association after 64 years, 65 years. And we've done so much for this small island and still have plans to do more. I know that Barbados will come together and help us.
The topic of euthanasia remains a controversial one. That's according to the chairman of the Barbados Christian Council, the Reverend Canon Noel Burke. He says many Christians have mixed views on the process, which involves the painless killing of a patient suffering from an incurable disease and/or an irreversible coma. The practice is illegal in most countries, and Canon Burke says there are several moral and ethical challenges to be considered.
Euthanasia raises the question about the value of human life. What is the value of human life? What is human life worth? It raises the question as to who it is that is responsible for life, who gives life. And it raises another moral question is, do we have the right to die, as it were, or is this part of a natural process? If there is a right to die, and if persons can make that kind of decision, then a major question would be, who decides this?
Canon Burke speaking during a panel discussion at the Cave Hill Wesleyan Holiness Church on the topic, should euthanasia and assisted suicide be made legal in Barbados? He says he has no doubt there'll be more debate on the topic in the future.
Certainly it seems that among us there is a need for that kind of discussion. There is that need for that kind of call. And of course Barbados interacts with persons internationally. And there are persons who have come from countries overseas who bring with them living wills, do not resuscitate orders, and so on. And the question is, how do we respond? How do we relate to such queries? So there is no doubt in my mind that eventually, within the context of our Parliament, this is something that will be discussed.
Opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley is dismissing suggestions that his decision to leave the Barbados Labour Party is part of a ploy to keep the Democratic Labour Party out of Parliament. Since the announcement on Thursday, there have been allegations that Mr. Atherley has been influenced by people with their own political agenda. However, Bishop Atherley says that is simply not the case.
I said 2 days ago it's an insult to Mr. Arthur, I think. Today I say it's an insult to Ms. Morley, if that's the thinking. Happily, it is just rumor. It is a nonsense. And I think it's an insult to both of these people who have done so much for this country. It's certainly an insult to myself.
Well, while asking his constituents in St. Michael West to give him a chance to explain his decision, Bishop Atherley says the move will not disadvantage them.
I don't know of anything I have seen or heard that would suggest to me that they would discriminate against the people in St. Michael West because of any move that I've made in Parliament. I dearly love some of those guys on the other side. I hang out with a couple of them frequently, and they're my friends. In politics, you tend not to talk often about friends, but there are one or two of them I can really call friends, and others are very good associates. So I don't expect that there's going to be a negative and discriminatory reaction to serving the interests of people in St. Michael West.
Well, we'll return with more news just after the break. Good news now, and Barbados has added yet another centenarian to its growing list. At Frere Pilgrim Christchurch, Iona Barrow became the country's latest. And along with Governor General Dame Sandra Mason, relatives celebrated the Woman of the Hour. Ms. Barrow, who was born at Church Village, says she attended the church from the tender age of 3.
I was 3 years old, and they gave me something to say, a recitation. Yeah. Dappy was a red one, Dappy was a thief. Dappy came to my house and stole a piece of beef.
How old were they?
3 years.
Oh no, you remember that?
And the day when I was to say, I saw a crowd of people, I got excited and I cried and never said it.
Well, you say it now though.
Dappy's a red one, Dappy's a thief. Dappy went to my house.
Centenarian's daughter, Imelda Coppin, one of 11 children, says her mother was always a very caring person. Granddaughter Julia Coppin says her grandmother was a steady influence in her life, and today she says Ms. Barrow is her greatest friend.
My grandmother around her friends, and she would say, you know, Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss. And I would say, one of her friends would be like, man, she ain't a Judas. You know that you got about 5 Judas down the road, them kissing you, and them doing more than she, right? And I listened to that over the years and laughing, and I going back, and she never said no, right? I know that I'm older, and I come and kiss up my grandmother, and I say, Granny, she would say, well, you know what it is? All right, Judas. I said, Granny, Judas ain't here. He ain't back here. Are you still here? Right? So we make that kind of laugh and sport to this day, and we've had a blast.
We turn to the region now, and in Guyana, President Granger says all citizens there should pay keen attention to lifestyle diseases and their prevention. We get more in this report.
Lifestyle diseases can be avoided by many folks if everyone acknowledges that prevention is paramount. Alcohol and drug abuse, the excessive consumption of processed and fast foods are all unhealthy and costly. That's what President Granger says.
The lack of recreation and sport and sedentary activities or inactivities have contributed to the increased incidence of non-communicable diseases such as cancers, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and obesity.
President Granger recently at the launch of Health Expo 2018. According to the president, the government operates at 3 strata: the national or central government level, the regional administration level, and at the municipal or neighborhood level. He says that in this regard, the healthcare system similarly must take the shape of the government system.
So if the government is based on neighborhoods, the healthcare system has to be based on neighborhoods. And nobody should have to leave a neighborhood in Lethem, or in Mahdi, or in Bartica to travel to Breeden Hoop or Georgetown. So, public health services in Guyana are an important arm of the public services which we deliver to our citizens at those 3 levels.
He added that it is at those levels that the administration provides public primary, secondary, and tertiary services.
The objective of all 3 levels is to provide access to health services Access which is based on quality, on reliability, and on inclusivity, so that no one, not the visually or physically impaired, will be denied access to public health services in this country ever again.